Spring has come and it's time to grow our plants. This magical thing can grow your cutting much faster. Oi, I'm Daniel. Welcome back to my channel. Today I would like to talk about this magical Keiki cloning paste. So you may ask, what is this little thing and how can it help to grow your plants? And this is called Keiki cloning paste and it's actually used for cloning orchids. According to the instruction, it says that it is a special blend of natural plant growth hormones and vitamins help stimulate mother plant to reproduce while fertilizing baby orchid. Later, plant lovers find out that actually this paste can be used on aroids. Unlike rooting hormones, this magical paste is used on axillary buds. The aim of rooting hormone, like its name, is to promote root growth. But from my experience, this magical paste is more about giving you new shoot, new growth, rather than giving you new root growth. You may think it is actually a little jar and costs you around 20 quid to get it in the UK. Should I be careful of the amount when I use it? From my experience, you only need a thin layer of it over the axillary bud. So my answer is, you don't need to be really careful because you don't need a lot of it. At this point, you may think, what is actually an axillary bud? Within each internode, you may find a little whitish circular thing on it. It is actually the axillary bud. For like mid cuttings, that's where usually you can see a new growth. Talking about how to use it, I usually just putting a thin layer of it over the axillary bud. Some people may suggest you to scratch around the axillary bud to scratch the tissue out and let the axillary bud to be exposed. And then you put the Keiki paste on it so it maximizes the amount of the paste, the hormones you can get to the axillary bud. I may not suggest you to do so because it is quite dangerous, especially if you're getting an expensive cutting, right? So I would suggest you to first try it out. You may just brushing it over the axillary bud, or if you are more familiar with it, you're confident enough to scratch around the axillary bud. What you need to do is not scratch the axillary bud out, but you scratch around the axillary bud to make the axillary bud exposed. It is quite dangerous, so I suggest you to be more familiar with it before you're thinking to do it. I've tried this paste on several aroids, and each time I have learned something new, so I think it is quite worth it to share it with you. My first try is for this Monstera deliciosa. As I said, I don't want to risk it on some more expensive plants. When I use it, I try to brush over the axillary bud. Unfortunately, it didn't translate into any new branch or like cloning a new cheese plants for me. At this point, I can still see 2 new green shoots and it didn't do anything else. Didn't turn into a new cheese plants or even aerial roots. What I've learned from this Monstera deliciosa is that this Keiki paste doesn't necessarily give you new plant straight afterwards. What it will do is to activate the axillary buds, but it won't give you new plants immediately. The plant itself focuses the energy on the top growth rather than spending energy to push out new growth down here. So it is the first lesson. My second try is on this Philodendron varicosum, and it was a full plant before, and when I used the Keiki paste to it, it was a full plant. Now it turns into a bottom cutting, and it does show you that this Keiki paste worked this time. Back in the time when it was still a full plant, I saw this axillary bud semi-activated. I could see like a little lump on the axillary bud, so I thought, maybe this time I could try my Keiki paste. This time it worked too. It did activate the axillary bud. Learning from my Monstera deliciosa, I decided to cut the plants into several cuttings so the cuttings or the plant itself can focus on the energy to push out a new leaf for you. That's why I turned it into a bottom cut, and you can see it is already a success because I have a new leaf already. My third try is on this Philodendron Horizon. And I think it always looks better on the camera. I don't know why. I got this one as a cutting with a caterpillar, and it takes so long for it to grow. So long, I mean, it's so long. I had it over 6 months or even 8 months, and it didn't give me any new shoots at all. I can't see any new leaf, I can't see anything else. Of course, there were some root growth, and you can see it's actually quite well rooted, but there's no leaf. There's no leaf at all for 8 months. And then I see that, oh, there's an axillary bud. Maybe it's time to try my Keiki paste again. So I brushed the Keiki paste over the axillary bud. It did activate the axillary bud again, but you can see that it's actually giving you a tiny new shoot, and it didn't give me anything else again. And I think it is the same conclusion for my Monstera deliciosa. The plant want to focus on the top growth rather than spending extra energy to push out new growth from an axillary bud. Now, of course, you can see that this caterpillar is growing again, it's giving me a new leaf already, but this axillary bud remains a tiny new shoot. I'll keep you updated on this new leaf on Instagram, don't forget to check it out. My last try is on this Philodendron D mcdowell, and you can see it is an imperfect rehab project. When I got this plant, it already had an accelerated but semi-activated. It started to push out new growth, which is quite lucky for me. This time I want to see that can this Keiki paste speed the growth up in general rather than like try to activate the accelerated bud. I can't give you a fair conclusion now because you can see that it is still growing and you can see some remaining of that Keiki paste over that new growth. In my mind, I do feel like this cutting grows slightly faster because this Keiki paste still have some sort of nutrients, hormones which could be beneficial to the growth. And you can see that it is quite well rooted in water. So we shall see. So today I've talked about this crazy Keiki cloning paste and my experience of using it. Let me know in the comment will you try this one out, and if you have already tried, let me know the result.